It was Christmas time on the island of Sodor. All the engines were very busy, taking extra long goods and pasture trains up and down the lines. Even the railway staff were working extra hard too, as a lot of people were rushing to visit their families and friends and hurrying to find gifts in time for the holidays. The Fat Controller had arranged for a special Christmas party to take place in a beautiful country village on the island for all the children, their families and the railway staff to celebrate Christmas Eve together. There was also a special train arriving to take them there. This train was called the Santa Special. On the day before the party, Thomas had delivered lots of stands, Christmas decorations and important Christmas posts for the villagers. "The Christmas party is tomorrow," he whistled cheerfully to the villagers, "and we'll be bringing lots of festive fun to enjoy." But that night, the wind blew and snow began to fall heavily. The engines were resting in the sheds. James was feeling tired and grumpy. He had been pulling lots of extra passengers and heavy loads all day. "Why are there so many extra trains at this time of the year? The slippery weather makes all sorts of delays, and the passengers complain at me, which is not even my fault. And they don't realise the extra journeys tire me out." Thomas was confused. "Christmas may be busier each year, but it isn't always that way to think about the season," he replied. "Thomas is right," added Edward. "Having these trains at this time do give us engines the joy of being part of something special to give to everyone here. Remember, James, Christmas is about being kind and about what you can give to help make the holidays feel wonderful." All the engines agreed, but James, still feeling grumpy, said nothing and went to sleep. By morning, all the lines were covered in thick snow. Some of the engines were sent to help clear it from the tracks, and the workmen set to work hacking away the snow embankments and clearing ice away from the points and signals so they could work again. Later that day, Thomas and James were at the harbour, collecting important loads and the special coaches for the Christmas train ride special. "Driver says these loads are for the party tonight," said Thomas. "There's even an extra truck coming with a special surprise for the passengers along the route to the village." But after listening to Thomas about his special, James still wasn't happy. "After I take these coaches to the big station," he said, "I have to do more late delivery runs with more long heavy goods and passenger trains again," which he knew it was going to slow and tire him out again, as he sighed and puffed away. But James was in for a surprise. As he arrived at the big station, the Fat Controller was waiting for him. "There's been a change of plans, James," he said. "The village has been completely snowed in. I've sent Thomas to collect Terence to help clear away the snow, so I need you to hurry back to the harbour to take Thomas's train to the village and to do some special stops along the way for tonight's special. Henry will handle your passenger and goods train runs instead." James was delighted. He knew the train would still be heavy, but he wouldn't have to worry about being held up by late rushes for a while. So he was uncoupled from the coaches and he hurried away. Soon James collected Thomas's train and hurried along the line. He made all the stops where he was told to, and the workmen set to work putting up the Christmas boards among the fields and trees. "They're for the Santa Special," his driver explained. "The children are to look for them during the ride for the festive fun of it." James was most impressed by the idea. At last, James reached the village, just as Thomas and Terence finished clearing away the snowdrifts. The villagers cheered in delight, and cheered even more when they saw James arrive with the last important loads. Thomas and James looked on happily as the workmen and the villagers unloaded the crate and put the decorations up. Just then the station master came up. "I've just received a message from the Fat Controller," he said. "He wants James back at the big station right away." So James raced back as quickly as he could, while the station master turned to Thomas. "And Thomas, the Fat Controller needs you to go to the yards to collect the Christmas tree for the party right away." Thomas was excited and puffed away. James arrived at the big station just as Edward backed onto the train. And all the railway staff and families all gathered, excited to get on board. "After all your efforts to help get everything ready on time," said the Fat Controller, "you shall have the honour of pulling the Santa Special with Edward." James was delighted. "Thank you, sir," he said. He ran round to the front and backed down in front of Edward, ready to start. Very soon everyone was on board. But just then the children began to cheer loudly as they saw coming towards the train was Father Christmas. He boarded the train with a sack full of presents ready to give out later. This brightened James up a lot. Just then the guard's whistle blew and the cavalcade puffed proudly away. As they puffed along, they passed all the Christmas boards that James and the workmen put up earlier. Everyone was amazed by the sight as they stood out in the night. When they finally reached the village, everyone was amazed. Decorations were hung across between buildings, the side stalls were up with food and games for everyone to enjoy. Even the Christmas trees stood out brightly in the village, and the fairy lights shone all round. It was a marvellous sight to see. When Father Christmas came off the train and made his way along the platform, the passengers cheered and cheered, and so did the villagers. The Fat Controller began the announcement. "Ladies, gentlemen, children and engines. I have great pleasure in welcoming you all to tonight's event, and as a special thank you to all the staff, engines and their crew for all their hard work throughout this year on my railway. Now, on with the festivities." The engines whistled and everyone cheered once more as the music played and the party began. "You and Thomas were right, Edward," said James. "Even if some trains have late deliveries, thinking about the special work you are doing does make you feel better, and helping others to enjoy the holidays does give you the special joy to be a part of, especially when it really helps to make you have a happy Christmas."